DevilNeverCry.
What is up everyone, it is me DevilNeverCry, and here's everything you might have missed from the Final Fantasy XVI State of Play. First up, we get even more confirmation that we will indeed be playing as Clive, the main protagonist, throughout multiple periods of his life, including multiple different time skips. First, we'll be playing as Clive just before the fall of Rosaria and before his brother is killed. Then we'll be playing as a young adult version of Clive on his quest for revenge, following yet another time skip as we finally see him embark on his final journey, whatever it may be. Something new, however, that we didn't know is that you'll actually be able to control and play as Joshua, Clive's little brother, for a certain period of time during the fall of Rosaria. Up next, we learn of the fate of one of Clive's earlier quests, where he's sent to receive Shiva's dominant. Shiva, of course, being the giant Ice Queen icon, and Jill being the dominant of this icon. If you look here in the piece of gameplay, you'll actually see that Jill has been procured through what means we don't know, but they've managed to make it back to the main hideaway, which serves as the hub for Final Fantasy XVI. Though the Hideaway hub was mentioned previously, this is the first time we're actually able to see it, and we also get confirmation that it is at the Hideaway where you're able to not only purchase new items such as new weapons, but you'll also be able to visit a blacksmith to help reinforce and upgrade those weapons. Moving on with something new we haven't seen before, the map screen. It's been confirmed previously that Final Fantasy XVI will not be open world. In fact, it will be made up of multiple large zones stitched together, and we get our first look at the map screen here, or a portion of it, where we're able to see multiple different markers that Clive is able to quick travel to, and when highlighting some of these markers, you'll actually be able to see nearby quests, which is a quality of life feature that allows you to easily get to where you want to be without feeling frustrated. They made a point of mentioning that this map can be opened and accessed at any point during the game, though I'd imagine during specific cinematic sequences like boss fights, you won't be able to use the map or the quick travel feature. Moving on, we then got more of an extensive look at the skill tree system in Final Fantasy XVI. I've covered this and the combat of this game extensively in a previous video, thanks to being able to get hands-on with the game itself. I'll leave it somewhere in the top right-hand corner of the screen here, but essentially they confirm yet again that you're able to pick and choose which skills you want. The fact that you're able to upgrade these skills with ability points which you gain via combat, and of course if you don't like the way you've spec'd out Clive with specific skills, you're able to refund all of your points entirely, allowing you to start again free of charge. Pressing ahead, we got another look at the junctioning, so to speak, of icons. I know every time I say that word, people get PTSD flashbacks to FF8, but essentially this is just the icon or the summon that Clive is able to tap into at any given moment. You're able to switch between 3 of them on the fly, and specifically here, we were able to see not only Rama, Garuda, Titan, and Phoenix, we're also able to see Odin and Bahamut to a certain extent as well. They then also took us through the settings screen that you get into when you first start a new game, where you're able to mess with things like the subtitles, whether you want the game to be in performance or graphics mode, which is something they confirmed in a previous interview, and also things like which dub you want the game to play in. Something new they hadn't mentioned before, of course, were a few of the accessibility settings which help with visual clarity, though the majority of the accessibility comes from the story-focused mode, which allows you to take advantage of a few accessories which make the game easier to play, with things like having Torgal, the dog, automatically be controlled by the AI, being able to slow down the game whenever an attack is coming to allow you to dodge quicker, to even things like having the game do combos and attacks for you. Swinging back around to something new entirely, the training mode, or the Arete Stone as they like to call it in the game. This essentially is a mode that Clive is able to go into, and he's able to practice and train against specific enemies, allowing you to measure your combat performance, for example when you've gained new skills or new weapons. Taking this one step further, and something that's pretty cool however, is the fact that you're able to place yourself amongst a leaderboard depending on how well you perform in combat against an enemy, which again is measured against other people's training modes, which I think is pretty cool. Training modes in action games aren't necessarily groundbreakingly new, considering games like DMC and Bayonetta have them already, but the multiplayer aspect of them I think is what is going to give this longevity beyond just being able to mess around with your toolkit. Jumping back to the topic of side quests quickly, they also gave us a quick look at how side quests work and the renown system. It seems that the more side quests you do in a specific area, the more your renown stat in that area will rise, allowing you to take advantage of specific items and such that are given to you once you reach a specific level of renown in that area, essentially providing a bit of a reward or an incentive for engaging with some of the side quests and moving away from the main quests entirely. We also got a quick look at a classic Final Fantasy enemy, Ahriman, as well as the hunting system in Final Fantasy XVI, wherein Clive is able to visit a hunting board and take on hunt requests, which will provide him with renown as well as money whenever these hunts are completed. Skipping away from combat entirely for a second, I want to talk about the new, finely detailed lore system that they've established here in FF16 and how you go about viewing it. By specifically talking to one character in the Hideaway, Hippocrates or Harpocrates, however you want to pronounce that, Clive is able to recount his own tales, specifically after completing, I'd imagine, main quests and side quests, which will then fill out this detailed lore system that you're able to navigate and essentially keep tabs on what's going on in the world and what's going on with specific characters in regards to how they relate to each other and what's affected them, which I think gives you a fair representation of the scope of the world of Valisthea in Final Fantasy XVI, where Square Enix are so concerned that players will get overwhelmed with just the insurmountable amount of knowledge and detail to take in, that they've taken the time to provide a detailed lore system which will allow you to unpick things and just relearn things that you may have forgotten or missed the first time round. And the final thing that I want to touch upon, something that's rather funny in fact, is the confirmation yet again that of course this will be a solo game in a sense that you'll only control Clive and Torgal, of course, albeit to only a limited extent, but you'll be able to travel with different people at different points of Clive's life. But what I find interesting is that there's a QuickTime event, or a QTE, in which Clive is basically almost killed, and once it pans away from this QTE, you simply see Sid just standing there watching it happen, all without doing anything. Some may consider that small detail immersion breaking. Personally, I find it absolutely hilarious. And that just about covers everything new in this recent state of play for Final Fantasy XVI. If you want to see my in-depth combat breakdown from where I was able to literally get hands-on with the game itself, I'll leave a link to that video in the description below where you can go and check that out. Let me know down in the comments below what your thoughts are on Final Fantasy XVI, and if you're hyped to get hands-on with this game, considering the very action-esque direction that it seems to be taking. With all that said and done, it has been me, DevilNeverCry. I'd like to thank all of you for watching, and as always, I'll see you all next video.